simply say, I don't buy it, was, hey, look at the numbers. I'm the number one player in the world. I've won 4 major championships. I won the last 2 last year. And until somebody does a lot more than win a Masters, I really don't want to hear about a rivalry. But I still believe that he and Jordan will be the next great rivalry in the game.
Kind of a la Nicklaus and Watson, so many great duels, and they've played the game in very different ways. You know, one of the greatest things about this championship, Mark, is, as they say, how democratic it is. A guy you've never heard of could be warming up next to a guy that everyone knows is the number one player in the world, and you can't help but turn around and catch a glimpse of McIlroy hitting golf balls as you're trying to prepare for your own round of golf.
Well, when Rory gets up to the driver and starts hitting drivers, it's interesting. There are different sounds with a golf ball coming off of a club face for different players, and Rory's got a sound that only really a few players have. He is the best driver of the golf ball in the world, I believe. He hits it a mile, and I think when he gets under pressure, and we're going to see it this week on some of these holes where you have to drive the ball in the fairway, that the more pressure he gets under, the more he likes to hit that driver, and the harder he swings, the straighter he hits it. That's what's amazing about him.
Yeah, you know, we saw that at the PGA last year when he fell behind going to the back 9 and just started ripping the driver, and the ball went farther and farther, and he found, except for 18 where he was rushing, he found every fairway on that back 9 and rallied for, because remember, when he stood in the 10th fairway at Valhalla on Sunday, he was 3 shots behind Ricky Fowler and ended up winning the golf tournament, of course, although we're not 100% sure that he won since it was so dark on that 18th green.
Let's join Steve Sands and Nota Begay in Seattle and get their perspective on what we're seeing from Rory right now.
All right, Kisser, just going out just before Eastern time. I'm curious, this is a firm golf course, a fast golf course. The book, if there is a book on Rory McIlroy major championships, is that he wins a major championship when the conditions are a little bit chances this
one or die off, and I don't think the firm conditions necessarily suit or are going to cater to his game. I think one of his big advantages that we all speak about come down to his driver, and when the courses get soft, as they were at Congressional, as they were at Kiowa, he can unload on that driver, and we saw that coming down the stretch this past year at the PGA Championship, where he's hitting it into places where other players just aren't even, they're laying up to those places after they've already missed the rough, and now Rory's hitting wedges and 9-irons where other players are hitting 3s and 4-irons, and that was evident at Valhalla, and I think that he's going to have to be a little bit more cautious with that driver this week, but if he's able to maneuver it and get it positioned appropriately, he can attack these holes with much shorter clubs.
There's no question in April on the range here at number 1. There was a bit of an aura when he stepped up, and you knew he was about to embark on a major championship in that first round. We saw him earlier with John, Mark, and Kelly. They were talking about Rory. When he walked on the range, he was stretching and started his warm-up. Do you get a world when he steps onto the range for a first round at a major championship that other people kind of get a sense that he has shown up?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the way he's played in the last 3 major championships, 2 wins and a 4th, all 12 rounds under par. He has clearly established himself as the player to beat, and I know there's been discussions with regard to George. When he's on his game, he's an excellent front runner, as Tiger was, but the one chink in his armor is he's susceptible to a couple miscuts here and there, which lends itself to take away from a bit of the intimidation factor, and that's what Tiger carried for so long. Is Tiger didn't miss cuts, very rarely was out of the top 10, and when Tiger showed up on the grounds, there was this aura of not only just his presence and his energy, but the intimidation factor was there, and as Tiger's play started to digress and he had distractions off the golf course and all of those things, that intimidation went away, and that's when you saw players like King down at the PGA Championship, at Hazeltine, and other players able to close the deal when Tiger was always so good at closing out those tournaments.
Tiger is the only player to win a U.S. Open while being ranked the #1 player in the official World Golf Ranking, and he did it 3 times in 2000, 2002, and 2008. You're looking at Pro Tracer, brought to you by Capital One Commercial Bank, as we are on the range here at Chambers Bay watching the world #1 player, Rory McIlroy. He's got iron in his hand. That's Michael Bannon. That's his caddy, J.P. Fitzgerald. And to the right of him, he has the white hat on. To the right of him with no hat on, that's Michael Bannon. Are you a fan of the best players in the world going out as they warm up for a first round at a major championship, having a swing coach standing right beside him, or do you look at that as perhaps a way of a player perhaps searching for something as he goes out there?
I'm not necessarily a fan, but I don't think it's a plus or a minus. I mean, they're not really evaluating every shot. There isn't a video camera out, as we've seen with some players. I know that we talked about Martin Keimer at the Players' Championship having his TrackMan out on Wednesday afternoon, and I think those are red flags. But if sometimes a player just needs a little boost of confidence with regard to a specific adjustment, or they may have made alignment, proceeding in those particular areas isn't always what's happening, and so a little adjustment like that can make the difference between hitting a few extra fairways and a couple extra greens. And out here, that's going to be paramount, because any easy pars that you can rack up and you are going to
on the range. He also can go here and try to win his second U.S. Open. The first came a few years ago at Congressional, outside of our nation's capital. How about this man, Sergio Garcia, trying to win his first ever major championship? A couple of white golf balls and then a bit of a dice there.
Dual call or something to give him some sort of feedback on whether or not he's getting a true roll. There's a lot of times there was a ball that were split, two colored. One hemisphere was one color, and the other that's actually an all red colored ball. Maybe he's trying to put that in play so he can see some red figures out there.
64th consecutive major championship start for Sergio today. That's the longest active streak in the game, and he's still looking for that ever elusive first major win.
Exclusively at your Lexus dealer.
Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy have amazing gift deals for Dad. Buy one, get one half off select Nike and Adidas golf apparel. Buy one, get one free Top Flight Bomb. Instant savings on Callaway XR Metal Woods. Give a gift he'll really love from Golf Galaxy. And America's #1 golf retailer, Dick's Sporting Goods. In Ireland, you can write your own story. Hit the shot of a lifetime. Be the hero. With breathtaking views and challenging links, Ireland courses await at Ballybunion. And at the 19th hole, relive your tales of triumph and glory. This is Ireland, home of champion legendary journey today. Ireland.com/golf now.
Husband and a real good dad, but weeds just make me rattlesnake mad. Well, Roundup has a sharpshooting wand. I'm sending them weeds to the great beyond. No need to pump, just point and shoot. Hit them in the leaves and it kills to the root. Round fences, trees, even mulch beds, because the only good weed is a weed that's dead. Roundup with a one-touch wand.
Smile 'cause the sunshine and bright pouring over your life. Everything will be alright. Walk out the look up, young lovers. Oh, everybody, it's now or never. Can you come out and play? Come out and play.
She's a golfer. He's a golfer. This guy just picked up a club. And these two can't put it down. The point is anybody and everybody can play golf together. It doesn't matter how good or not so good you are. Thanks to PGA Handicap and the
Live from the U.S. Open continues. Todd Lewis, part of our crew this week, yesterday had a good line about Miguel Angel Jimenez, I thought. Father Time beats us all, undefeated, he said, but he is having a heck of a battle with the likes of Miguel Angel Jimenez. You could say that about this entire group. Colin Montgomery, a multiple major champion on the Champions Tour and in the field this week. As we send it to Tim Rosafort, Monty warming up for his first round, Tim, at 8:28 locally. He had a little bit of a health scare last week.
He did, Kelly. Checked in with Colin, you remember, 5 days ago, Sunday in Boston, before the final round of the Constellation Senior Players Championship. He checked himself into Mass General for tests, complaining of chest pains. Coming off the golf course actually Saturday and then through the night. He is fine, he said. No chest pain since then. He's flown across the country when he was flunked at the stress test. But doctor told him that it's okay if you don't vary off the numbers you had between 40 and 52. That's good. And as for whether he's this golf course is a stress test or not for him, he said he doesn't know yet. After practice rounds, he said check in with him after today.
You have to wonder how much he's going to fuel from the second chance that he has been. If he didn't get it, he has to make a little noise.
Well, I think Furyk has the best chance, but the real problem is if you look at Monty and Jimenez there, look at the two guys on the other side of them that are hitting balls, Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy. And what you really have to wonder is Colin Montgomery, who has been a great competitor for years and years, does he does.
Classic U.S. Open course, Colin Montgomery's ability to hit the ball straight would be very, very important. But this is not a classic U.S. Open course. By the way, though, this is a classic U.S. Open pairing. These guys are not together by accident. Jim Furyk doesn't get to be the youngest guy in his group by 6 years very often, but he will today.
You can hear the murmurings. It's first with a birdie on number one, which did not rear a single birdie in 2 days of stroke play qualifying at the 2010 U.S. Amateur. Rory McIlroy out at 11:28. He could birdie every hole. He's that talented. The question is, will he transition his game to this bouncy layout? Mark, I know he is your heavy favorite this week.
Well, he is. He took a look at the Pro Tracer right there, had a very low trajectory on that one. I think where Rory is going to have a huge advantage is how high he can hit his iron shots. He plays long iron shots the way Tiger did in his prime, and I thought there was only one player at the time, Tiger Woods, who could hit the kind of shots that he hit in that category now. He will play a lot of different kinds of shots out here. I think it's going to be good for Rory that the wind is not blowing this morning. To me, if there's one weakness in Rory's arsenal, it's that he doesn't, in the wind, have a lot of little knockdown shots that you see him play. He's not going to need to do that out here today. I actually think right now this is a golf course that he mentally is thinking, I can go out and almost overpower this thing this morning if, in fact, the wind stays down.
And there's absolutely no sign, as we're looking at, again out at the Sound and at these flags, of any wind at all. The flags are absolutely limp. And I think you're right, Mark, that Rory McIlroy is going to go out in attack mode. And he's, it's funny, he's talked about at times you've got to be a little bit more conservative than he has been in the past. Talked about that at Sawgrass on certain golf. I suspect he's going to go out and try to attack this golf course. One other thing on pairings, one of my favorite all-time pairings was in 2010 at Pebble Beach when Rory McIlroy at 21 and Ryo Ishikawa at 19, total age 40, played with 60-year-old Tom Watson.
So combined, they were nearly half.
They were two-thirds. Of Watson's age. The other thing that this was sort of a clue to me about Rory. This is 5 years ago. I asked him about playing with Watson after his second ride Martin at All Beach. In fact, his last Open, and he said, "Yeah." He said there were several times I saw him staring out at the water, and I wondered what was running through his mind. And Tom made the cut there, of course. And how observant of a 21-year-old to know player.
Always St. Andrews.
He wants to play with Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. That would be lovely. But that will not be happening.
No.
Sergio Garcia, at the age of 35, still relentlessly pursuing that first major championship. Part of this morning wave that is underway at glorious Chambers Bay.
Why this watch? This watch has seen the greatest courses under the most challenging circumstances, conquered by extraordinary skill. It's seen crowd favourites and rising stars hungry to make their mark. It's seen the birth of a legend. She rewrites time. It tells history.
The 2015 Can-Am Spyder lineup is here, including the all-new Spyder F3. During the Ready Set Summer Sales Event, save up to $4,000 on select 2014 models and get a 2-year warranty. Experience the complete freedom and confidence of a Can-Am Spyder today.
You've downsized, streamlined, simplified, dropped the dead weight, cut and cut and cut. But now, what's left to cut? What if you cut the finance and HR systems that only show you how to cut and got one system that shows you how to grow? A cloud-based system that helps your entire organization identify untapped talent.
He was looking to take advantage of the forward tee ground at the par 4 third. Hole high, setting up another birdie. Then looking to get out of trouble at the 5th from the native area. That's a beauty. And now to take advantage of the great recovery shot. His 4th birdie of the day, a 3 under 67 to get the Aussie back to even par for the championship. Rory McIlroy, who knows a little something about big leads at the U.S. Open, trying to get himself back in contention at Pinehurst. An opening bogey at 10 dropped him to +2 for the championship, but a chance to get that shot back at 14. And he's back to +1. Another birdie at 3, and then this to move into red figures at the 5th. A second on 68, and a two-day total of cracked the top 20 in his 7 previous U.S. Opens. He stumbled with 2 early bogeys, but recovered nicely with consecutive birdies at the 5th and 6th, improving to closing his round 169-yard 9th with a 9-iron. He's within 3 feet for another birdie and a second consecutive 69. Charlotte resident Brendan DeYoung looking to build off the momentum of his opening 68, an 8-iron at the par 3 15. Meter, Sean. Oh, he just gutted it. An even par 70 for DeYoung in the second round. Brooks Koepka, who qualified for the championship over at Walton Heath in England, for birdie at the 3rd. Gets it to go back to even par. He'd make another birdie at the 5th, then this to join the group at 2 under. A 2 at the par 3 9th to finish his round tied for 5th. Long-hitting Dustin Johnson, who has won each of the past 7 years on the PGA Tour, looking for his first major title at Pinehurst. From long range at the 15th. Johnson to 2 under. He drove it in the greenside bunker at the 3rd. But a nice play from the bunker to set up another birdie. Just short of the green and 2 at the 5th. Well judged, leaving a tap-in birdie and a 36-hole total of 138. Over at the 8th, this is Kevin Na from way down the slope. This is one of the more dramatic drop-offs around the back of this 8th green that you'll find anywhere on Pinehurst number 2. And Kevin Na has no problem with it. That is one of those shots that you make 1 out of 50, so that shows how good it is. And Na continued his fine play at the 11th. He would make that to move to 4 under. After a bogey at 13, Na looking to get it back at 15. And the big swinging putt drops. A 69 on Friday for Na, 3 under for the championship. But the closest pursuer to Keimer was 28-year-old Brendan Todd, who grew up playing junior golf less than an hour up the road in Cary, North Carolina. He got hot early, converting short birdie putts at 3, and at 5 to move to 3 under, and looking for more at the par 4 13th. Up the hill, got to carry it to the hole. Oh, it's stayed near. All right. Beautifully done. Now to capitalize on the good approach. Brendan Todd playing in his first U.S. Open in front of his friends and family, a bogey-free 67 to play his way into the final group on Saturday. Keimer's back-to-back 65's the lowest 36-hole score in U.S. Open history. He had a 6-shot lead over Todd. Snedeker and Na were another back. A group of 5 others were tied at 2 under par, 8 strokes off the pace. Those not making the cut included recently crowned Masters champion Bubba Watson, as well as the reigning PGA champion Jason Duffner. 3 other past champions, Angel Cabrera, Jeff Ogilvy, and Lucas Glover, failed to make the cut.
Introducing the new Amazon Fire TV Stick, the smart way to watch thousands of movies and TV shows. Yeah. From loads of great services, including Netflix, Showtime, Prime Instant Video, Blossoms Up, Demand 5, fascinating. Curzon Home Cinema, B2C iPlayer, and that's just the beginning. How is that possible? Just plug it into the TV, connect to Wi-Fi, and start watching in minutes. The Amazon Fire TV Stick, only £35. It's a smart TV made simple.
Tempestuous rock star? No. The TV's been relocated by Paul, who's livid about lousy exchange rates. Unlike Mark here, he didn't have a Fairfax currency card to get irresistible rates to use on cash withdrawals and purchases. You'd be mad not to Fairfax, so order yours at fairfax.com.
House prices. Other people's wages. Coffee. These days, I feel like everything's getting bigger, except my savings.
But you can do something different with Wellesley.
Wellesley and not a bank.
Start today and get 4%.
Invest for longer and get even more. So visit Wellesley now and find out how to treat your money just like their own.
Find out more at wellesley.co.uk.
Ellie and her companion here are the same age, and both work in fashion. For some sites, this is enough to make them a match. At eHarmony, however, we take the time to really get to know you. Our unique matching system helps partner people on their values, characteristics, and, the stuff that counts. So when you head out on an eHarmony date, you know it will give you butterflies, not a load of hot air. eHarmony.co.uk. Join free today.
Welcome, my child.
Welcome.
I had no idea that you would... I need to get back to Boston. We're getting married.
Is this a dream or something real? The Marriage of Reason and Squalor continues tonight at 9 on the new Sky Arts. And if you've missed the start of The Marriage of Reason and Squalor, episode 1 is available now on Catch Up.
Here we go. That is the call. All right. The world champion leads the pack to Austria, live only on Sky Sports.
Keimer ascended to the top of the game quickly, a PGA champion at just 25. 2 years later, it was his putt at the 18th hole that gave the Europeans a dramatic come-from-behind Ryder Cup victory. He had accomplished so much so soon. But in an effort to change his swing so he could work the ball both ways, he found inconsistency. He missed the cut in 4 of the next 8 majors and had no worldwide victories in 2012 or 2013. But his game was rounding into shape in early 2014. An opening 63 led him to victory at the Players, and his 6-shot lead at the midway point at Pinehurst had people making comparisons to the record-breaking performances of Tiger Woods in 2000 and McIlroy in 2011. Could he continue to dominate, or would he falter, opening the door for others on moving day? The sentimental favorite Phil Mickelson was doing everything he could to get it going, but Pinehurst and its famed turtleback greens had other ideas, from the greenside bunker at 6.
Oh, this isn't going to stop. Man.
Mickelson hole high on the drivable par 4 7th.
Got a little bit unlucky. Probably should have stayed in the bunker there, but it's right up his alley.
He tapped that in for birdie, but it was his only one of the day. In order to vault in contention, he really needed to go low. The long putt at 9 was to save par and fill with a third-round 72. Rory McIlroy never got it going either. Early bogeys at 2 and 4 moved him back to +1, and his struggles continued at the 5th.
This ball's coming back into the bunker.
Then his 4th from about the same place.
Tell you what, that one's got to go. He knows